We haven't done that song before. That's fun. Happy Mojo Monday, my friend.
Happy Mojo Monday. And here's the catch, people. We're gonna keep hold out on you because we were actually hoping to get to the part where it says all we need is another brick in the wall.
Oh, hold on. I can turn it back on. I don't
No, you're good. It's
know.
good. Just know that's the line we were striving for. And I think the moral of today's conversation is going to be all about sometimes, you know, awesome and perfect is not the goal. You just have to be good enough. And
Yes.
another brick in the wall is one step closer. And so
Oh, we're
there
we're
you have it.
channeling our inner Pink Floyd. Well,
We
if
go.
you haven't guessed, our topic today is another brick in the wall. Inspired, of course, by Pink Floyd and a story we're going to tell you. However, did you know?
Yeah, so there's 136 teams in FBS. That's the football, Division One football across the NCAA, college football. 136 of them. How many have actually won a national title? What number of teams and what percentage?
So out of the 136, how many have actually won the national title?
Taking the natty. And there are a
Ooh,
lot of powerhouses out there.
yeah. Well, I think we probably should make note that we try to make our Mojo Mondays very evergreen, so it's not time sensitive to the time of year. However, yesterday just really inspired us around some pretty prominent college football games, and we can't make this one evergreen because it's very pertinent to the story. So,
Yeah. Or some good
another
upsets. Good
brick in the
upsets.
wall.
Yeah.
So, Rick, we both watched this podcast this morning that was talking about the teams that had played in the conference championships yesterday. And my alma mater, Texas Tech, actually has not won a division title, a conference championship in over 70 years or something like that.
So
It's
wait, we're
crazy.
not we're not talking about the natty, the national title. We're talking about
Yeah.
a division conference
Yeah.
win. All
Like
right.
winning
That's
the SEC or the Big 12 or the Pac-10
that's
or
right. Well, you got to
whatever.
win that
And
before you can win the natty. So they've
oh,
had to say they've had a drought would be an understatement.
yeah, and I'm excited obviously because they're coming in probably going to be in one of the top four teams going into the college football playoffs. However, the guy that was given the podcast had toured the facilities at Texas Tech University. And in contrast, if you had walked through the facilities of Georgia, like your home team, right? What do you think you would see in the there you go, in the facilities of Georgia?
I mean, you could probably run out of gas and you might have to take a break before you got to the end of their trophy case. And that's true of all the major universities that'll be part of the number I'll share later that have won natties. I mean, Ohio State, even teams like Florida State and Miami had runs that they've probably got trophy cases full, but definitely the Ohio States, the Alabamas of the world, Texas,
Yeah.
there's some teams that are historical perennial winners.
Yeah, so Texas Tech, back to the story, builds a trophy case when they renovate their facilities, which I can only assume has nothing in it.
It's pretty
It-
sparse according to David Pollock's podcast.
yeah. Except one thing. They put a brick on the shelf and painted the word believe on it. And so they
Dead
have
center.
this giant trophy case with a brick sitting in the middle of it. And Rick, what do you think about, like, what's the message? What's the mindset behind that?
It's a bold move on some level. But I'll add one more layer to this too. David did mention that they did a major overhaul of their facilities. It's like they primed the pump for greatness and they created an environment where the expectation is excellence. And then they don't have a history to lean on, so they clearly planted a future forward, fast forward thinking vision of what should and will be there. And I mean, that's step one. It's the seed, it's the thought. Without a thought, there's no action, no behavior, and no, you have to have the thought, which is the seed, which takes fertilizing water, time on task over time, ritual. There's a whole litany of things that create a winning formula in a program, but they started with a brick. And I think that's cool.
And I think this is where our listeners need to listen into this story is what's your brick, right? Like what's on
Mm.
your brick. And Rick, you've told me in the past a fun story about an agent in the first Atlanta office and what he did with you. You mind sharing that story real quick?
Yeah, not at all. No, there was a, in fact, he's one of my favorite people on the planet, Michael Bunch. And early on, we were going toe, and he was always incredibly successful. But, one thing that I did well is I followed the formula in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book day one when I came to Keller. And I just put fuel on an open fire. Started out a small candle, at one point I had a team of 10, maybe 12, and we were well into millionaire status. But the point really is that I brought home a lot of hardware regularly early on because I was so committed to following models and systems and doing the work. And I think I was quadruple platinum, whatever the heck that means. I don't know why they didn't create a medal that was, but I got four of these big platinum, things you put over your neck like an Olympian.
You were
And
like Georgia, your trophy case was full.
I'm not bragging. It was just hard work and an incredible group of people around me. But the point really is one day Michael comes to me and he says, "Man, can I borrow those and just hang them in, my office for a season to sort of plant the seed?" And that was his brick. And that was his aspiration. He goes, "I want that for me, and I need to visualize it first so that I'll be inspired to do the work." Because what we know is if you do the work, you get the result. And if you follow a formula, it's like baking a cake. You put the right ingredients, the right amount of time, right temperature, your cake's going to be just as good as my cake if it's the cake you want to make.
Yeah. And we've talked before about the creations, right? There's always two creations. You got to create it first in your mind before the physical creation ever happens. And there's a fun story with Muhammad Ali where they had asked him like, how did you know you were going to win that fight? Or when did you know you were going to win that fight? And he said, it was in the shadows when I was boxing myself first.
Late at night.
And it's that late at night. And Rick, I remember when I was playing basketball in high school, my coach sat me on the or put me on the free throw line, but didn't hand me a basketball. And he
Mm.
said, I want you to visualize making this shot 100 times before you ever shoot it. And the power of that lesson is such a life lesson in business as well. Is do we actually visualize the process? Do we visualize closing the sale or making the sale or the feeling of what it's like after the sale is completed? Do we ever actually visualize that? In real estate, there's a lot of moments where like people go to a listing appointment or they go to write an offer or any industry has those moments. The question is, did we pay enough attention to the thought creation first before we ever played the game and had an expectation of physical creation, right?
There is the psychology of not knowing you're going to win, but knowing you're prepared to play to win. And then if you win or lose, at least you know you brought your best. And I'm not sure we all play to win. And that's an interesting,
What do
reality. Like, do you wake up feeling like an underdog or are you the favorite in your head and heart? And neither's wrong. It's how you play to the strength of either position, making sure you don't show up vulnerable because you're unprepared. And so, one of the questions we might ask today is how are you showing up prepared relative to your strengths? Which is why I think we're going to migrate into the SWOT analysis a little bit and talk about a strategy for self analyzation and recognition of the
yeah.
opportunity in front of you. But if you're not getting what you feel like you deserve or want, or you've not elevated your game, this is the perfect time of year to take a deep breath and own your brick. Like what's that trophy in the case that's inspirational, motivational, and has true, sincere, lifelong meaning as you build a wall of greatness.
Yeah. And there's just something rough and raw about a brick.
For
Like,
sure.
I mean, it's like, and it feels heavy. Like there's an analogy of the heavy brick, right?
Yeah.
There's just so many great sports analogies, but in business, it could be a lot of things to a lot of different people. But the question is, you've got to ask yourself first, who am I? And who
Yeah.
do I want to be? And you have to get clear on that question before you get into any kind of an analysis, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, you've got to own your gifts because here's the thing, you're not going to beat somebody without playing to your strengths easily if they're playing to theirs. And I love the whole thing that, again, the underdog usually wins because they come in with maybe a little chip on their shoulder, something to prove. They wake up early, they stay up late trying to make sure they're ready for the big game because it means more. Does your game mean more? And then what are you doing to really exploit a winning formula? And what's cool about business is I don't think the idea is that you're exploiting weakness in your competition because the competition may be a future ally. You're trying to win that business. I think exploiting means exposing. So exchange those two words. You're trying to expose a need that you're best at solving. And so where I think this has to land is what are your gifts? What need does it solve? And then who's the avatar, the ideal client that if you talk to enough of them, you're going to win more often than not. And so you mentioned taking that shot, and I think there's two pieces of that. There's preparation and practice, but then there's opportunity. If you're not in the game, you're not going to score the point because you're not in the game. So that means taking shots. So as you evolve into that conversation or that sequence that I mentioned a second ago, and you land on the perfect person that's your avatar or the ideal match for the need that you solves, now it's about opportunity and taking enough shots and identifying and attacking that opportunity with your
Yeah.
marketing, your exposure, your database, your network. Are you really playing to win or are you just waiting around hoping to play?
I didn't prep you for this, but we both were in a leadership summit last week that we were hosting, and we had a speaker come in, and he played this video uh, of Michael Jordan. You remember the
Mm,
video?
yeah,
And
of course.
and it was crazy. So tell that story real quick. I know I
I
didn't
mean,
prep
it's
you, but
yeah. So Michael Jordan was at some big event and he rented a house, like a big Airbnb, and I guess the family knew that it was Michael Jordan. And this is recent, like recent. And
yeah,
I may
like a
miss a
year
few.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I think it was. Uh, I can't think of the guy's name, the interviewer from ESPN, but you could find it if you Google Michael interviewing at an Airbnb. Anyway, he shows up and the family comes to greet him. I guess he's royalty. Those that know, like greatest basketball player, almost indisputably the best ever. And they have a sport court at this house, and they asked if he could still shoot free throws the way he used to, which was like some ridiculously 90% or something crazy. And it was because that guy over prepared. Like I even there's a section of a chapter in my book where I share how he failed and didn't make the high school team and had to battle back. And so he's had adversity and he's overcome. And I guess he saw himself as an underdog early, and one day he becomes the favorite because he earned it. But they challenged him to a free throw, and it's funny because Lee asked, I think the guy's name was Lee, asked him, he goes, "Hey, I mean, how did that go?" And he goes, "I have to tell you, I've taken so many free throws in my lifetime. I've never in my life been so scared." He's like, I was terrified. Like I'm the guy, and they're having me on. Their videos are out, their cameras are out. I get one shot on a sport court, and maybe we should leave it. I don't know if we tell the end. You guys have to find the video, or we put it in the chat.
Yeah, but I think the lesson in that video though, Rick, is he also admitted that he hadn't shot free throws in
Years,
years.
years,
In
which
years.
surprised me. You would think he would, pick up game, friendly. I can only imagine his house still has an indoor court. How could it
Yeah.
not?
And it just goes, you have to always do preparation because the minute you stop doing preparation, your nervousness, your anxiety will show back up. He was scared. And
Yeah.
to us, we're just sitting there with our jaws on the floor going, this is the greatest basketball player ever. And why is he scared to shoot a free throw in front of a group of little kids?
Well, that was the
Uh,
deal too. I think his peer group, because he's like wants to be a hero, wants to be that guy. I don't know if he was with his friends, he probably would not care. But in
yeah,
front of a 6-year-old, 7, 8, 10-year-old who hails him chief, man, that's a cool story. Like his image
yeah.
still matters, and winning on behalf of himself and reflecting well matters.
So we'll leave it there, the cliffhanger, because we got the cliffhanger as well. Did he make the shot?
Maybe that's
Oh,
the did you know?
did you know? All right, so let's move this conversation. So obviously, you got to get clear on who am I and who do I want to become. Do you have a brick on the wall or a brick in the trophy case that's positioning your life to become great. And then you kind of have to get into this SWOT analysis perspective. And SWOT analysis, if you've never done one, stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And the question is not, do you have them all? Because you do. The question is, how do you play the game inside of it? Meaning, how do you accentuate your strengths, minimize your weaknesses, look for opportunity, and not ignore the fact that there's threats, right? But the clarity on that approach helps you win a lot of games. And one of the things that came out of this weekend's football games, Rick, was the greatest teams didn't necessarily always win the game.
Mm,
They just had to be good enough.
yeah.
What do
Man,
you
if
think?
that's not metaphoric to life, what is? And by the way, when you think about SWOT analysis, make sure you're paying attention because there's two sides to every coin. And the coin of SWOT analysis, what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats on the external aspects of your world? And then what's going on inside your head and heart? What do you actually believe going back to the brick? What's the brick and how do you feel like you're evolving into that best version of you? And where do the strengths live? Where are the weaknesses? What are your vulnerabilities? Maybe your insecurities, maybe your uncertainties, maybe historical failures that have left a mark, generational conversations in your family that are transcending in your thinking. And then what's the opportunity to break free of that? What does it look like to shed that weight and quit carrying baggage that's unnecessary? Going back to your point, you don't have to be the best. You just have to be good enough. And when we say good enough, what I think the framing mechanism has to be, good enough is defined by you. It's the word you put on the brick. And if you land, you win. It's $1 more, like wealth to me is $1 more than you need to live the life you choose to live so that you
Yeah.
can fund it.
$1.
$1, baby.
$1. Well, how do we take this conversation and make sense of it for our listeners? I think the reality is one, what's your brick? Do you even have a vision of what great looks like? Not that you
Mm-hmm.
have to be great, you have to be good enough, but still, good enough wins the championship of most of the time because they live in preparation, they live in their SWOT analysis, they live in all that, right? Rick, what would you say?
Define the gap between where you are, where you want to go, commit to the brick, whatever word you want on it, whatever that future trophy is going to be. Go find role models and then analyze what needs to change in your head and heart so that you're poised for it. Every interview I heard last night, and there were two major upsets and one win that was unexpected by Georgia over Alabama, which delighted me to no end. But I'll tell you this: when they were interviewing the quarterbacks and the coaches and the key players after the game, there was a similar tone. It was that we won this game 6 months ago when we committed to winning this game. We won this game when we came together. We won this game because of camaraderie and connection. We won this game because we got up earlier and we fought harder and we developed and we created camaraderie and alignment, velocity through alignment. What does that look like? And then I'll close with this: almost unequivocally universal. They thanked and gave honor and award to the higher power that drove them, that secret sauce, that spiritual energy of some kind. And where's that driving you to do something, not because it's necessarily a want, because it's a have to, and because your DNA speaks to it and screams for it. The greatest gift you can give yourself is the gift of your actual potential. And whether you land on your actual potential or not, it's the fight that matters. So that's what I want you to hear. Are you
The
waking up?
journey.
Are you waking up early, fighting the good fight, and you going to bed excited so that one day you wake up inspired, you go to bed more fulfilled because the journey mattered?
Rick, we're going to walk around our real estate offices in 2026, and there's going to be a bunch of bricks on shelves with words painted on it. And it would be the best day ever for us as leaders because I think the heaviness of the brick
Yeah,
is so metaphorically powerful.
it's huge.
The
It's huge.
ruggedness of it.
Well,
So
there's that
I'm
saying,
dying
begin
to
with the end.
know.
If you don't begin with the end in mind, man, you'll never reach the end that you're desiring and that you deserve. So you got to begin with the end in mind, and then you've got to do the work. And then you got to analyze so that you pick a path of least resistance, which will show up in that SWOT analysis. Take some time and own your SWOT analysis on the internal side and then the external factors that might impact the inside. And so,
I
did you
love it.
know 33 out of 136 teams have won a national title? Only 33,
It's about 25%, no?
about 25%. Not quite the
In
80-20 rule, but close.
and I think the time frame on that goes back to 1936, right? So it's 90 years and only 33 teams have won the national championship.
Yeah.
What's special about those teams?
Obviously, they had a brick. They had vision first. They did the work. They believed, and they took the shot. They showed up and played the game. Again, I don't think you have to be the best. You have to be good enough so that your brick gets fulfilled and exchanged for a beautiful, massively awesome life trophy.
Boom. Rick, what's today, baby?
It's Mojo Monday, my friend, and we hope you guys have an amazing Monday. Incredible.